It's been a whirlwind 24 hours in India.
As tens of millions of ballots are being counted in India, the governing BJP and its allies are in the lead.
It seems if you look at the vote share, there is a variation between the vote share that the post-poll studies came back with and the actual vote share. The BJP's actual vote share at this moment.
So it does look like, despite what the exit polls were saying, the BJP is going to have to rely heavily on its alliance partners.
The Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has claimed victory, but his party's performance appears to have fallen well short of expectations.
As many expected, Narendra Modi's BJP party looks set to stay in power after winning the most seats. But both sides are claiming victory. The incumbent BJP will likely be given the chance to form government for a third consecutive term.
We're going to see Prime Minister Narendra Modi after his third victory in the Lok Sabha elections of 2024. The BJP headquarters are buzz, the cameras are out, the flash guns are flashing.
दुनिया के सबसे बड़े लोकतंत्र की जीत है.
The confetti is out of the can. Prime Minister Modi has reached chants of Modi, Modi ring the air at the BJP headquarters.
But in reality, the BJP has lost its absolute majority.
But the opposition has shaken the foundations of the BJP electoral juggernaut and punctured the aura of invincibility that has surrounded Narendra Modi for a decade, humbling those who said Modi was sure to win in a landslide.
Do not appreciate the way they have run this country for the last 10 years. So that is a huge message to Mr. Narendra Modi.
A close election after 10 long years in India, and very few saw it coming. Most experts had written off this election. The exit polls predicted a BJP landslide, but the Indian voter had other plans.
So, what's happened? Could we be about to see the unthinkable? A BJP government without Narendra Modi as Prime Minister? From the lands of the Kulin Nation, my name is Emma Hoy. This is Leave It to the Experts. After weeks of voting, countless press conferences and hours of punditry across the airwaves, the Indian people have made their decision. More than 640 million ballots have been counted, and the Bharatiya Janata Party, led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, has won the most votes. Before the election, the BJP was hoping to win at least 400 of the 543 seats in India's lower house, the Lok Sabha. On Sunday, exit polls overwhelmingly predicted that Modi was on the verge of a landslide victory. They were very, very wrong.
It seems if you look at the vote share, there is a variation between the vote share that the post-poll studies came back with and the actual vote share. The BJP's actual vote share at this moment seems to have gone up less than 0.5%.
This is how the CEO of a polling company reacted live on TV during the count, as it became clear just how wrong the exit polling was.
This poll, so we thank you for your effort. And you win some and you lose some. He still has a fabulous track record in terms of polling.
Now you made him, oh God.
No, but the thing
I think, Pradeep, I know you are passionate about elections, passionate about what you do. The tears that are coming out is a part of your passion.
A grown man brought to tears. Instead of a landslide, the BJP has fallen well short of its much-hyped benchmark of 400 seats, winning a mere 240. That's a loss of 63 seats since the last election, and well short of the 272 seats required to take majority government. As a result, the BJP will now need to build a coalition in order to stay in power. Instead of being routed in a landslide, India's opposition bloc, the India Alliance, has clawed back much of the ground it lost in 2019, winning 232 seats, and has even taken seats from former NDA Alliance stronghold states like Uttar Pradesh and Gujarat. Rahul Gandhi of the Congress Party described the result as a repudiation of the Modi government's sharper edges.
The country has unanimously and clearly stated, we do not want Mr. Narendra Modi and Mr. Amit Shah to be involved in the running of this country. We do not like the way they have run this country. We do not appreciate the way they have attacked the Constitution.
Over the last 4 episodes, we've spoken to a number of experts in an attempt to better understand the fundamental issues shaping the voting preferences of India's people. These conversations and the subsequent election results would indicate that despite a well-versed media narrative supporting Narendra Modi's incumbent government, the people of India have started to turn away from the BJP's vision for their nation. Voters in India's agriculture-rich breadbasket states, such as Rajasthan, Haryana and Uttar Pradesh, appear to have punished the government over its lack of support for farming communities and for its Agnivia scheme, which reduces army recruitment for youngsters to 3-year contracts. The underwhelming turnout for the BJP also seems to reflect increased concerns over growing youth unemployment and the party's polarising brand of politics. So while the BJP remains the top dog in Indian politics, Narendra Modi's mandate has taken a big hit, and the shape of Indian politics will change. .360 Info's South Asia editor Bharat Bhusan joins us now to unpack the results and help us understand what comes next.
All right, Bharat, welcome back to Leave It to the Experts. So first, I thought we'd start by just getting your initial thoughts on the results of this election. Could you talk us through some of the major trends you've witnessed across the country and give us an idea of who some of the biggest winners and losers have been so far?
Yes, these results have been a major personal setback for Prime Minister Narendra Modi, as well as a political setback both for him and his party, the Bharatiya Janata Party, which has fallen short of the majority mark, substantially short, in fact. So Modi is the biggest loser of these elections. The biggest winners are the people of India for rejecting Modi's majoritarian Hindu politics. Politically, the opposition party bloc called India, or the Indian National Developmental Inclusive Alliance, is also a winner. India will now have a strong opposition in parliament, which it did not have for the last 10 years. This election has also seen the revival of India's grand old party, the Indian National Congress. The results are also a vindication of the people-oriented policies of Congress leader Rahul Gandhi, who undertook 2 long walkathons across India to talk to people about their issues. Several regional parties have increased their political weight in national politics. For the opposition, it's really the Samajwadi Party. It's emerged as the 3rd largest party in parliament with 37 seats in Uttar Pradesh. And then there is the Trinamool Congress in West Bengal, which has won 29 seats. In the 2 big regional players that have emerged as the kingmakers in the ruling National Democratic Alliance led by Prime Minister Modi's BJP are the Janata Dal United in Bihar and the Telugu Desam Party in Andhra Pradesh. Together they have about 30 seats.
Right. Could you walk us through the day of vote counting? When did it become clear that this wasn't going to be this huge Modi landslide that exit polls had very recently and overwhelmingly predicted?
Well, a lot of people in India did not believe in the exit polls. Although the counting began at 8 o'clock in the morning, it was not till about 3 hours later, around 11 o'clock, that it became evident that the trends that the BJP was hoping for were not there. It was falling short of the 370 seat target it had set for itself and the 400 plus target it had set for the National Democratic Alliance, which it leads. At one point, it seemed that Modi himself was trailing by 20,000 votes. But I think that excitement was short-lived because in the subsequent rounds of counting, Modi was substantially ahead. But his margin was about 150,000 votes, which is not a large margin for a sitting prime minister. The real excitement was in the Hindi heartland of Uttar Pradesh, which contributes the largest number of seats to parliament, that is 80 seats. Modi was hoping to get 75 of these 80 seats, and not only because he had constructed and inaugurated a controversial Ram temple in Ayodhya, which is located in Uttar Pradesh, but also because the state has a temple priest, a man called Yogi Adityanath, as the chief minister. So they used to call it a double-engine government. So this double-engine government was to pull 75 seats out of 80 for the party. It didn't happen in the event. BJP was struggling to reach even the 62-seat mark it had achieved in 2019 in Uttar Pradesh. Finally, it got only 37 seats, losing nearly half of the seats. The same thing happened in Maharashtra, which is an industrial state where Bombay is located. That sends 48 MPs to parliament. There, Modi and his company of politicians had broken two of the opposition parties by splitting them and forming a government with them. And they thought this would give them the numbers. That didn't happen. The opposition outperformed Modi there also. People watched with glee as victory slipped out of the grasp of one of Modi's most aggressive ministers, a woman minister called Smriti Irani. She was a giant killer in 2019, having defeated Rahul Gandhi by a substantial margin. She was defeated this time by the election manager of the Gandhi family by a huge margin. The surprises of the day were the opposition alliance doing unexpectedly badly in Bihar, and two extremists winning the election in Punjab as independent candidates. But as far as extremists winning elections by participating in elections, I think it's good. It's better to have them inside the constitutional tent than to have them outside it.
We do have the BJP looking set to stay in power, but these results, as you've indicated, seem to suggest that the Indian voting public, even in the Hindu heartland, isn't happy with the political status quo. So are we going to see different behaviour from the BJP going forward than we might have seen following a landslide victory?
I should think so, because BJP will now have to head an alliance government. Up to now, it had claimed in 2014 and 2019 also that it was heading an alliance government, but it had a majority of its own. This time, the BJP itself is in a minority, and it's able to form a government with the help of its allies. So its dependence on the allies is much larger than it has ever been before. So I think they will moderate BJP's hardline Hindu politics, and Indian politics will become more normal. It will become issue-based. He will have to discuss all the big issues with his allies in the coalition. And I think he will have to shift from a pure Hindutva agenda to really the issues that matter to the people. That is youth unemployment, which was 44.5% in 2023. It's a big challenge. He'll have to address that challenge. He can't sort of construct one more temple and forget about it. He'll have to address livelihood issues. So had the BJP got landslide victory, then Modi's sensitivity to people's issues would have been much less, because he would think that he's winning elections on ideological grounds. Now, if he has to retain power, it will have to be on policy grounds.
Right. So all of a sudden, Narendra Modi and his NDA alliance are having to play nice with these other members of his new coalition government. Could you tell us a little bit more about who these new coalition members are likely to be and how you think they're going to reshape India over the next few years?
So the National Democratic Alliance is only a name. Its constituents change from one general election to the next. As of now, it has about 17 parties in it. In this election, two big players in this alliance are the Janata Dal United in Bihar and the Telugu Desam Party in Andhra Pradesh. Now, the people who lead them, Nitish Kumar in Bihar and Chandrababu Naidu in Andhra Pradesh, are veterans of coalition politics. Without them, they know that Modi will fall short of over 30 seats from the halfway mark. So he's crucially dependent upon them. They will therefore extract a price for their continued support and bargain hard. The newspaper reports already say that both of them want the speaker's post. So you would wonder why the speaker's post. It's because Modi and company are given to accruing strength by splitting other parties, including the allies. So these people don't want to be swallowed by the BJP, or they don't want BJP to split their parties. Now, in a split, it's the speaker who decides whether the split is legitimate or not legitimate. He interprets the rules. So this is a shield against any future attempt to break their parties.
Given how disappointing the election results have been in comparison to what Narendra Modi and his political allies were predicting would happen. Some are now saying that this might be the beginning of the end of the Narendra Modi rule. So how likely is it that India will have a new prime minister in the near future?
This is the beginning of Modi's decline. Whether this is the end of Modi, I think that kind of judgment would be quite premature. India getting a new prime minister, as you've suggested, will depend on several factors. First, it will depend on the ability of the BJP itself staging a challenge to Modi from within the party. So challengers have to emerge from within and be willing to take on Modi. Second, it will depend on BJP's allies in the National Democratic Alliance, because they can insist that the BJP change its prime ministerial candidate. So they may want someone more amiable as prime minister. So if they insist, then even then India will get a new prime minister. And third, India can get a new prime minister if the India bloc, the so-called opposition, can make a claim to the job by adding new members to their coalition. Now, why am I saying this? Because there's already talk, and they've hinted, that they would be approaching two of Modi's crucial allies, the Janata Dal United and the Telugu Desam Party, and they might ask them to join them so that they can make a claim. They will still fall short, but once this process starts gathering momentum, others may follow.
Bharat, illuminating as always. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Andrew Jaspin, and I'm the founding editor and director of 360 Info. At 360 Info, we're providing evidence-driven, solution-based journalism, all written by leading experts. Every week, we release new and innovative news content that bridges the gap between the world's brightest minds and the global public. To be part of the fight against misinformation, sign up for our newsletters and follow us on social media, or head to 360info.org. If you're a journalist or a publisher or editor, you can sign up for our Newswire service, which is free of charge at newshub.360info.org.
Technology-fueled disinformation has become a worryingly powerful tool in many modern political campaigns, and Indian politics is no exception. Narendra Modi benefited from misinformation campaigns in the 2014 and 2019 elections, and it was a concern again in 2024, especially with the influence of misleading AI-generated content, which was pervasive throughout this campaign.
Political parties, including Prime Minister Narendra Modi's tech-savvy BJP, are using all tools in their arsenal to sway voters, including AI.
Deepfake videos of Bollywood actors criticising Modi and AI-generated clips depicting Rahul Gandhi urging people to vote for the BJP were among the content flooding and muddying the waters of India's digital landscape. Certain politicians fuelled the misinformation fire, making false claims that Pakistan was backing the opposition bloc or publicly voicing Islamophobic comments propagated by online bot farms.
For years, Jadon reserved his AI trickery for Bollywood, swapping the bodies and faces of celebrities for entertainment. But in the lead-up to India's general election, he discovered a lucrative new market: politics.
Speaking to the news agency AFP, Rakib Hamid Naik from the US-based India Hate Lab said during the election campaign they'd witnessed an unprecedented scale of disinformation, and that conspiracy theories were vigorously promoted to deepen the communal divide. In India, there are 314 million users on Facebook, 362 million on Instagram, 535 million on WhatsApp, and all of those applications are run by just one company, Meta. In an exclusive for The Guardian in the final weeks of the campaign, it was revealed that Meta had approved a series of AI-manipulated political adverts during India's election that spread disinformation and incited religious violence. The ads included known slurs and calls for violence against Muslims in India. So, who's responsible for political disinformation? Should voters be solely charged with discerning fact from fiction, or should the political parties be held to a higher standard in campaigning? Or is it the platforms themselves that allow this to continue? Let's bring in our expert to talk through the impacts of disinformation on this election. We welcome Professor of Political Science at Rabindra, Bharati University in Kolkata, Sabyasachi Basu Chaudhury.
Firstly, Professor, it's been a monumental 24 hours in India. So what's your reaction to the election results been? And how do you think as they're going to shape India's next few years?
Definitely, it is going to be a major election in the recent times because there has been a lot of debate about, Mr. Modi's and his political party's supreme majority in the parliament. Had it been so, there was an apprehension on the part of the opposition parties and the civil society organizations that there could be attempts to change the entire constitution. And there were also apprehensions that it could be converted to a presidential form of government, discarding the so far existing constitution of the country. And therefore, when it did not happen, and different opposition parties and their alliance, which was stitched only less than a year ago, the India Alliance, that has been able to stop this kind of attempt on behalf of Mr. Modi's government. Now, Mr. Modi, for becoming the prime minister for the third time, if it happens, he has to depend on other alliance partners of the National Democratic Alliance.
I know that there is a lot of discussion now over why the election has turned out the way it has. But throughout the course of the election, there's been a lot of discussion and concern over disinformation. These attempts to warp the reality of voters, deep fake versions of long dead politicians or Bollywood actors advocating for a certain party. So how much influence do you think disinformation has had in the final vote and the results that we've seen?
You see, the point is that in the recent times, the social media in India has been playing an important role in formulating and shaping the public opinion. And in this case, what happened last time in 2019, the WhatsApp groups and Facebook, that played a major role. This time, it is more YouTube channels that has been shaping the opinion, modifying the opinion of the public. And you rightly pointed out that what happened was that in one instance, there was a video, an audiovisual clip that has been doing rounds that a former Prime Minister of India, Dr. Manmohan Singh, he was delivering a speech and as if he tried to argue that the economic resources of the country would be taken and they would be distributed among the religious minority groups in the country, that is the Muslims. So some people started believing it. In fact, the real audiovisual clip of Dr. Manmohan Singh said something else. It said that the people in our society, it may be the Dalits, that is the so-called backward castes in the country, and also the religious minorities, they should be given priority so far as the allocation or reallocation of resources is concerned. Nothing else. But it was taken out of the context and it was circulated by the ruling party or their supporters. There are other instances as well. You mentioned about the Bollywood film stars. So there were instances when we could see two Bollywood film stars separately. They were arguing that there should be voting for the opposition party and not for Mr. Modi and his political party. And these were all fake videos which are being circulated. So these things are dangerous in a country where most people, or a large section of the people, I would say, they are not that familiar with the real information. And many people do not have access to information. And when, in particular, in the recent times, the mainstream television channels and the newspapers, they were being controlled by the ruling party and the government. They were being arm twisted, as it is being alleged, by the ruling party or the government on different pretexts.
Political disinformation is obviously not just a topic of fear and discussion in India. You know, it's being felt by countries, but particularly democracies all across the world. So what do you think we've learned from India's election that the people and the policymakers of the UK and the USA and other nations that are about to have elections should take notice of?
One thing I should make it clear at the outset that, yes, I mean, for any democracy, be it in the Western countries or be it in India, information is very important and access to information is really important. And therefore, the spreading of disinformation is dangerous. It is dangerous for the democratic setup. It is dangerous for the democratic culture. But the point is that in case of India, it was more dangerous, as I said, as I indicated, that many of the members of the electorate, they are not that much aware, they are not that much familiar and with the kind of information or disinformation that were being spread, and they were unable to distinguish between the deep fakes and the real ones, and therefore it was more dangerous. In case of the United States or UK and other Western democracies, it is different to some extent because India is still experimenting with democracy and it has so far been largely successful if we compare it with other countries, most other countries in the global south. Therefore, India was a unique example in the global south, which has been trying to promote a model of democracy in the global south. But I would end in this way that other countries, including the countries like the United States, it would be really important to have a watch on this kind of disinformation being spread all over the country, in the sense that now we have artificial intelligence, and this technology can really manipulate the real videos or real audiovisual clips. And this AI is being promoted by different organizations, different companies, and it is a big business now. It is emerging as a big business. And therefore, there is a growing risk that this kind of disinformation, this kind of misuse of artificial intelligence that might be used in other countries, even in the developed democracies.
So as the strain of fighting against this growing democracy fueled by AI, as you've said, and social media, and it grows, who do we hold responsible and what can we do to keep our democracies healthy and vibrant?
It is very difficult to say in the sense that we have been criticizing the mainstream media in different countries. I mean, they are becoming pliable, in the sense that becoming very pro-government and pro-ruler, which was, perceived as dangerous for democracy. Now, in the social media, there is some kind of autonomy, it was believed, and the people could post anything they like against the rulers, against the government, trying to make them accountable. But at the same time, social media and artificial intelligence, these are double-edged swords. In the sense, it has advantages, and at the same time, it has very serious disadvantages. There is hardly any kind of control, any kind of regulation of the social media, and so far there has been very little control over the artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is an emerging technology, and therefore, even the politicians, the rulers, the governments, they are also not very sure how to use this new tool, this new weapon, and how it can be misused, how it can be properly used for the development, for the welfare of the people. Therefore, I think in all the countries, and it cannot be done by any single country perhaps, there should be some kind of a global attempt through the platforms of international organizations and platforms of regional organizations wherever available, to do something about monitoring these social media as well as monitoring. I'm not using the term regulating, monitoring also the use or misuse of artificial intelligence. Otherwise, this would be really one of the major causes of undoing the demos in the years to come.
Professor Chaudhury, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
The next episode will be our final look at the Indian election, as we find out who will take power and how they'll change India's standing in the world. Our in-depth coverage of India's election continues at 360info.org, with all the major wash-up, what it means for India, the region and the world. You can sign up for our newsletters and Newswire for journalists and learn about our work with university experts worldwide to fight misinformation. This episode of Leave It to the Experts was produced by Michael Joyner, Reese Hooker and Lachlan Gaselli. Research by Amber Holden. Music by Jan Skubaszewski at Red Moon Studios. I'm your host, Emma Hoy. See you next time.